Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Naira, Buhari under attack for flouting Supreme Court's ruling. Ibadan stands still for Tinubu as Oyo will vote equity, Justice Makinde tells APC candidate. Window of settlement between G5 Atiku closed, says Wike. Bayelsa to get looted $954.8 million. Buhari in Addis Ababa for OAU summit. And survey projects Tinubu to win presidential poll. Okay, quite a lot of editorials here in Nation, but let me start with the major headline. Who has that story?
What's the major headline?
Buhari under attack for flouting Supreme Court.
Yes, so the Lagos State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Moyoshore Onigbanjo, SAN, has reacted to President Muhammadu Buhari's rejection of the old note, saying it's contrary to the Supreme Court's judgment. He said this when he appeared on TVC Business Show, and he said petrol stations, banks, and others who reject the Naira notes will be prosecuted. He also talked about the fact that the scarcity in the land is being because of the fact that the POS, businessmen are the ones who are putting this untold hardship on Nigerians, and the people are going to be buying their own Naira. That it doesn't make sense at all. He said people who are hungry, have no means of livelihood, cannot care about anything called macroeconomic policy or a short or long-term gain. And he also mentioned that there's a contract between a customer and a bank that says when you bring your money to us, you have your money back on demand, and any bank who refuses to give the money on demand has violated that contract and can be sued. And so he's advising Lagosians who have, been affected by some of this to take the banks to court, because there's an agreement that once I give you my money, I should have my money when I need it. Then he went ahead to talk about some states who are already giving out palliatives, like I think Borno State. They are releasing about 300 million medical supplies to different hospitals so that they can take care of people who cannot afford it. And they are appealing, if you know you can afford it, please don't hide your money and say you cannot afford it, so that is enough for those people who need it. I think in Kebbi State, they are distributing food through the local government, rice, maize, millet, and all that. In Edo State, they've given till the 20th of February, free transportation. The government has said that people should have free transportation, just a way to cushion the effects of what's happening. Yeah.
There's an editorial that I think I should read in connection to this. So the editorial doesn't have a name of who was a commentary. It says the Supreme Court tells the nation what the ground norm says. So when anyone, including the president, issues an order or endangers an action that runs counter to it, it's a recipe for anarchy. It subordinates the Constitution to the whims and calculations of a man or a group of people. It means the society has veered from democracy to autocracy. And I think we echoed that yesterday when we were having that conversation. Are we really running democracy? Okay, let's take another story in the nation.
So I have the U.S. signs an agreement signed on behalf of Nigeria by the Solicitor General and the PAMSEC of the Federal Ministry of Justice to repatriate $954,807 back to the country, which are part of the loot of the former governor, late Alamisi.
Less than $1 million.
Yes, it's less than $1 million. So it says part of the forfeitures that have been happening as regards his estate. And Mrs. Jedi Agba, who is the Solicitor General, also said that the president has directed that fund should be directed towards building health facilities in Bayelsa who own the state. So we're not in that Delta category where Delta people and the federal government were arguing who owns the funds. This one has already been directed to go back to the Bayelsa State.
Yeah. So my own story is just an itinerary of what our president will be up to in a couple of days. He departed Abuja for Addis Ababa yesterday, and he went there to participate in the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of the African Union. And he says while he's there, he'll be participating in 3 high-level meetings on peace and security, climate change, and political situation in some of the West African countries.
The Punch. Better days aren't coming. Despair, disappointment after Major General Buhari's retire as address. Police hand over illegal arms and ammunition to NSA. Lagos soldier killed by policeman buried. Nigeria's oil output rises by 31 million barrels, says OPEC. Economic crisis, man says job losses likely. And Naira redesign plot to scuttle elections, install interim government, says El-Rufai. Which story are we starting with?
I'll start with the picture story. So ahead of the general elections, the Nigerian police force on Thursday handed over a total of 6,338 illegal arms and ammunition recovered from criminals and non-state actors across the country. And they handed this over to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, which is domiciled in the Office of the National Security Advisor. And also through the report, so that we don't waste any time, they gave specific number of what falls under the arms, the different number that falls under assorted calibers of ammunition, and so on and so forth. And then the national coordinator, NCCSALW, Major General A.M. Diko, retired, noted that some of the ammunition will be given back to the police to strengthen its capacity to protect citizens.
Yeah. So the human interest story, a soldier who was reportedly stabbed to death by a policeman around Odogunyo area in Ikorodu, Lagos on Wednesday has been buried. They said the soldier was attached to the 174 Battalion of the Nigerian Army and was identified as Corporal Sahid Ogulowo. So they said, according to the story, that he was stabbed to death by a police corporal around the bus stop during a disagreement. So apparently he had come out to ask. He saw the police officer standing beside his vehicle and he was asking him questions. They said the police officer didn't look well dressed, so he wanted to know exactly who he was and where he was from to be sure that he was actually a police officer. And then they got into a disagreement and he was stabbed to death. According to the story as well, they said some soldiers came back for a reprisal, burnt some vehicles in the police station and others. But the Army responded to say that it's not the soldiers that did that, that it was the mob that saw what happened and took advantage to start, burning things. But they have visited, the commissioner had visited the widow in their barrack and also assured that they would take care of her.
So
rest in peace. Yeah.
This unrest happening across the country, and the president went ahead when he could have just hidden behind the Supreme Court and let rule of law guide. Went ahead and declared further hardship.
All right, so the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, on Thursday described the current scarcity of notes in the country as a plot, an alleged plot to disrupt the forthcoming elections and ensure an interim government. According to them, those who are advising the president were trying to run, were hoping to get the ticket for the APC or be picked as vice president. And because they did not get that, they have convinced the president that it's okay for Nigerians to starve and businesses to have lack of cash just in order to ensure that the APC presidential aspirant doesn't, the flag bearer of the APC doesn't win. He said once Asiwaju emerges as the candidate for the June 27 primaries, subsequently, they were upset because he did not pick one of them as a running mate. This currency design was conceived to ensure that the APC presidential candidate is deprived of what they say allegedly humongous watches. So they assume that he has plenty of money somewhere. Wow. He wants to use for elections. Anyway, so, I mean, that was quite very, very, I mean, I don't even know what to describe it. Bold, I would say, but especially because the president had just given his speech. And there you have a Kaduna State governor addressing his people and Nigeria by saying that this is a direct affront on
This is the governor APC who has continually said that, I know the president. It's the people around him I don't know. I'm sure of who the president, and he's coming out now. Well, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have released their quarterly index, the CEO's Confidence Index, which is a quarterly research and advocacy publication that they have, and they are predicting job losses in the year 2023. They said that based on the research that they have done towards the last quarter of 2022 into the first quarter of 2023, there will continue to be a dip below benchmark point to 48.8 points in the first quarter of 2023, and a downward spiral of 49.2 points obtained in the preceding year. So they are predicting that businesses will have to downsize, people will lose jobs because we are going to adjust to this new hardship and scarcity of Naira notes and fuel.
Okay, shock, anger greets Buhari's approval of the old 200 notes. Insecurity, Ohaneze to hold peace summit invites Kanu and Ekpa. U.S. returns $954,000 Alamisia loot, fears possible protests during elections. Security agencies to deploy 400,000 operatives for the presidential poll. NECO urges defaulting states to pay Up 3 billion naira debt releases, 2022 SSCE results. It's too late for G5 to reconcile with PDP, says Wike. UK cautions over spike in criminal activity at bank, ATMs, financial institutions, beef up security, and stop crying foul. Release starch Naira to Nigerians, PDP tells APC leaders. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me start with the UK. So the UK, United Kingdom Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office has issued travel advisory to their people. They have said, okay, those of you here, please be careful. Nigeria is mainly a cash economy, and although they use the credit and debit cards, is increasing, but in big cities, that's only where you can use that. If you tend to use cash, make sure you bring enough foreign currency for that cash. So you are not even bothering to exchange, you just pay in your own. It's illegal to change money on the streets. They also want that credit card fraud is common here. So be careful when you remove your card to use. They then went for that, so that there have been a redesign of our notes and there are shortages, and they are likely to persist. This is likely to persist for a while, so there's tension around ATM areas, banks. So you should be, they are citizens in our country, should be careful how they use the ATMs to get cash and all of that. They don't talk anything different. It's the truth of what is in our country, but they are warning.
They see they steal card for their own place. They go there too.
We
They
know,
thief
but
our,
are they not fighting at
they're not
ATM?
saying
thief our
anything.
things, please.
We hear,
Let's focus.
but they are supposed to help warn their people now. That's
Yeah.
what a
And
good
it can't be
government
paper.
should do. Anyways, our River State governor, Nyesom Wike, has said that the G5 group governors, who he also calls the Integrity Group, they've reached the point of no return when it comes to reconciliation, that all these small talks of maybe they're still going to sit down and reconcile, that there's no reconciliation, and that it's untrue to say that they all are going their separate ways or doing different things, that they are all, they all believe in the value that brought them together. Right. And so there's nothing about them ever reconciling. He says concerning PDP, the presidential rally that was supposed to hold in River State, he said, don't mind them. They collected money and they were unable to even muster people to come for the rally. And then they came up with such an outlandish story they came up with a story saying that there was insecurity in River State because they could not bring people together. He also said that he has no apology for hosting the APC presidential candidate and his people. And he also talked about the president and his response and his speech concerning the illegalization of the 1,500 Naira notes in spite of the Supreme Court order. And he said that the president ideally should be the epitome of the rule of law. Regrettably, he's taking steps to undermine the integrity of the Supreme Court. So it looks like it's just criticism to the president from all quarters.
So, Council of Elders of Ohanese Ndigbo making efforts for the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to be released to attend the peace summit that it's organizing so that it can resolve security challenges and talk about the sit-at-home order by some pro-Biafra group. They're also inviting to the summit the Finland-based Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa, another leader of pro-Biafra group, as well as Igbo stakeholders. So the Chairman Council of the Elders of the Ohanese Ndigbo, Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, was talking about this yesterday, and he said the summit will pave a way for a smooth election in the zone. They've been hearing lots of people saying that elections will not hold in Igbo land, and this is very, very unfair because they are trying as much as possible to make sure that election holds. If election doesn't hold, that means Igbo people do not have any say on who governs them. So they must make sure that everybody comes out to vote. They are also trying to ensure that the 5 governors of the Southeast participate in the summit so that they can all talk to their people. The IPOB is saying that they are going to support and ensure that election will hold. But there are other factions who are trying to insist on this sit-at-home, boycott election and all that. So they want to use this peace summit to sort that out. Fantastic. Let's move on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Naira policy broadcast. Speaker, NBF Afenifere, IPAC, others false Buhari. Tinubu in Ibadan presents APC flag to Folarin. Leads APC chieftains to Makinde and meets Obas. Court stops PDP from expelling Autumn. Retired generals, losers of APC gubernatorial presidential primaries want interim government, says El-Rufai. Oh, I take that story.
You've taken it, yeah. It's okay. That story have we taken? Have we not taken? Okay, let's move on quickly to Vanguard. Taking most of the story. Again, Naira policy gets saboteurs arrested, tried. Buhari tells CBN. PDP to APC leaders release hoarded Naira notes. Polls reject candidates with questionable traits, says Catholic bishop. Polls, why Southeast must produce the next president, says Okurumu, ex-Emefiele. Suspected meningitis outbreak kills 38 in Jigawa. And over 57% make credit in English, maths as NECO releases 2022 results. Okay.
Let me take the no fewer than 38 persons suspected to have died from cerebrospinal meningitis in Jigawa State. Dr. Salisu Maazu, that's the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, told newsmen in Dutse yesterday. They said that also they have a total of 398 suspected cases, and this has been between October 2022 till date. They said that they had detected this disease in 56 of their wards across 7 local governments, especially the areas of the state that bordered the Niger Republic. He says when the outbreak was initially noticed, it was along the neighboring Niger Republic areas, the border communities along that area, but it has spread, and they listed the different areas that have been affected by this. I know that in Nigeria we get this nearly every year, where meningitis is something that just many communities go through, and I'm just hoping that eventually somehow we're able to do something about this quickly. And as we know, they said the CMS disease is commonly, which is the type A. This one, we discovered that it is bacteria known as type B. So this is a little bit different. And the state government and Ministry of Health will swing into action to make sure, people don't die further from this.
Right.
Okay, so the National Examination Council, NECO, has announced that results of exams for November, December 2022 is out. And that, 59,000 students sat for that exam, 59,124 students sat for the exams, and about 31,316 of all that number were males. And the performance was good. 76.13% got credits and above in English language and other subjects, while for mathematics, 57,700 out of the 43,000 passed got credits and above in maths.
Right.
So they comment the result. They're also in the same vein asking state governments who are owing for the past years
3 billion.
to pay up what they are owing NECO. And I wonder how NECO would survive if the states continue to declare free education for exams and not pay up.
Yeah.
3 billion is huge.
All right, that's all we can take on.